Okay, all right, good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. This is joint work with Marco Castillo, and who's also at the Interdisciplinary Center for Economic Science at George Mason University, and Clarence Wardell, who's a co-founder of TinyGive. They're both in the audience, and so they'll be happy to answer any question that I can't answer very well. And being a good academic, I've of course over-prepared, so I may need to skip through some slides as we go along. All right. So to give a little motivation here, we know that online giving is very important for many charities. Some people say that it's about 8% of the money that's raised. And peer-to-peer giving is very common. Right? So Fundly blog estimates that you're 10 times more likely to give if you're asked by a friend, and you'll give more. Right? Online examples include causes or donors choose. And direct asks can be very effective. Right? One of the main reasons that people give is because they were asked, and they were asked by someone they care about. Right? But asked by friends are not necessarily free. Right? You may be asked in the future to return the favor. Okay? So it's in that environment that we're starting to think about how online social media works and how peer-to-peer solicitations work. But we know very little about the costs and benefits of this kind of medium for eliciting donations, or what determines its success, especially given how common it is. So what we're going to do in this research is we're using a field experiment with an online giving community, and we're manipulating the normal checkout procedure. Right? And we're allowing donors to communicate to their network via Facebook, a credible signal that they've donated, and then asking their network to donate to, or their friends to donate to. Right? And what we're also going to do, because we think that there may be a cost to asking, we're going to subsidize the ask by giving an additional donation to the charity that the donor has just given to see if that changes the take-up rate of actually asking your friends. We're going to evaluate the different effectiveness of each mechanism, and I'll show you a ROI as John says, and estimate the costs and benefits. All right? Okay, so there's, I'm going to go sort of quickly through this, but there's a lot of research that suggests that asking can be very powerful. Right? Any practitioner knows this, and some research supports this as well. Also that the social context in which you're asking, or if there are audiences, may have an effect on whether people give or not. The kind of information you have about what other people are doing, your networks can have effects. And then there's also a stream of literature about using matching grants or rebates or other kinds of incentives. And so our research sort of sits a little in that context, and I'll talk a little bit about how we're sort of thinking about these subsidies and sort of the return on that relative to some of this other work. Okay, so I've given this talk a couple times before, and I think it's important to talk a little bit about the environments in which we're working, because some people are familiar with Facebook and some people aren't. And I've had questions later, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So one environment in which we're working is Facebook. So a lot of online users use social media. Not everyone is an online user, but Facebook is a very popular online social network. There are about 1.4 billion people who use Facebook, and about 56% of people who've been polled recently have said they have some sort of Facebook account. Right? So it's a very common way in which people communicate within their networks. It's an environment in which people can share information. They can share photos, they can share posts, information, links, but only to their friends. So you have a circle of people you've invited to be in that network. And we're going to exploit two features of Facebook. One is having your own wall, right? So on your wall, both you and your friends can post updates or photos, and all your friends can see it. Okay, so it's like posting something broadly, right, to your friends. There's also another feature of Facebook, which is a private message, in which you can send a direct message to a friend. Right? So instead of posting to all of you, I send a direct message to Clarence and ask him something directly. Okay, and everyone else can't see that. All right? So it's those two features of Facebook that we're going to be exploiting in this experiment to understand a little bit about the effectiveness of these different kinds of asks. The online giving community that we're working with is a large nonprofit. They have a website where they have information on charities and projects that donors can come to who are looking to, they're looking for funding, and donors can come there and sort of shop around for projects and charities to give money to. It's a very easily searchable platform. and has a secure way for people to donate. Right? They vet the projects for legitimacy, and they have an excellent reputation in the online giving community for having low administrative costs and also proper screening of projects. Right? So donors can come there and sort of securely and confidently donate. And so users can search the site, click on a project, put a donation in a cart, and have a secure checkout. And I'm going to show you the checkout procedure and what we're manipulating in the field experiment. So the two ways we're going to be looking into, two ways of asking, two common ways of asking is have a direct ask to a friend. So this would be me asking Clarence directly if he would donate to a charity of interest to me. And we're going to use a private message in Facebook to do that kind of direct ask. Right? And then there's a diffuse ask. Right? So that would be for me to say, hey, I just donated to this great charity, join me in donating too, right, to everyone, right? And that's going to be the own wall type of ask, right, that we're doing. Okay, so doing these asks, there may be sort of costs associated with this. So we're sort of thinking that there might be sort of nuisance costs of just using Facebook in the first place, right? So you may not even have a Facebook account, or you may not be logged in. So people may be reluctant to ask just because they have to go through this nuisance cost of actually logging onto Facebook. There's a nuisance cost of completing the post, right? So of actually following through. And we're going to see that there's a little bit of a roll-off between people who start the ask and don't actually complete it. And there may also be a social cost of asking. So it may be very different for me to ask Clarence directly to join me in donating to a charity, as opposed to having a very diffuse ask that I'm asking generally, right? So we're going to look at that as well. So we're going to look at the effectiveness of these things and see what they. So what might we expect? So the solicitation rate could increase, right, because we have this credible way of asking. Because the post that we're going to give the donor that they can post on their Facebook wall says that they've donated, right? And then they ask their friends to donate as well. Of course, you may not, because you may be modest. You may not want to do that. And the add-on donation could be perceived as sort of an appeal from the organization itself that we really need your help. So if you'll post to your friends, we'll give this add-on donation. So altruists might actually post more. Asking a favor may be costly because you may have to pay it back later. So direct ask could be more costly, because if I'm asking Clarence directly to join me in donating as well, we know that there's this direct link, and later he may come back and ask me for a favor. Right? The subsidy should lower the cost, so we should sort of see the take-up of these posts increasing as the subsidy goes up, and there may be these nuisance costs to completing the task. Okay, so what do we do? So we have these online giving community we're working with. We gathered data for 6 weeks, the beginning part of this year. We altered the normal checkout procedure, and in the normal checkout procedure, after a donor has made a donation, they're shown their receipt, and they say, you can post this, you can post something about this project to your wall, or you can send an email to a friend. Right? You don't have to have a Facebook account to be put into our treatments, but you're invited to have one, or to register for one if you don't. We have a 2x3 design where we're going to give people a credible signal that they donated. There's going to be an ask, and I'll show you the screen so you can see exactly what the people are seeing. You ask a friend to donate. You can post to your Facebook wall or send this direct message. And we have 3 add-on donations. One's $0, $1, or $5, right? And it's in the donor's name. We have some people who are not qualified in our experiment because they've come through and they've made multiple donations, and because the add-on goes to a particular charity, those people are not qualified. We still gather data on them. There were also people who purchased gift cards or had special campaigns, and they were put in the non-qualified category and were shown the normal checkout procedure. And then some qualified people, we also randomly assigned them to the normal checkout procedure just because we wanted to see how they reacted relative to the non-qualified, and also we wanted to see if we gave them a credible signal, if that affects, if the credible signal for donating affects their willingness to take up. Okay, so at checkout, what people will see is they'll see a little banner that says, click here to post to your Facebook feed, or they would be put into a treatment where it says, send a private message to a friend on Facebook. Right? And then once they click that, so they're... Those are the 2 treatments. Those are the 2 treatments, yeah. And I'll show you the screenshots so you can see exactly what they are. And once they click on that, so they click to post, there'll be a pop-up window that comes up that says, I made a donation to this charity, join me in donating too. Okay? So in all the treatments, the pop-up window, or what will appear in the private message or will appear on your wall, is going to be exactly the same. If they're not already logged into Facebook, they're prompted to do so, and about 45% of our people are already logged into Facebook when they arrive at the experimental treatment screen. So just a mention about this is a field experiment, so people didn't know they were in an experiment. It was a natural part of checkout to be asked to post or send an email. And so because of that, we have limitations on the kind of data we have on our donors, right? So because of privacy rules on Facebook, for us to be able to extract information about them, like their birth dates or their gender or their friends, we would have had to ask them. And what's that? But so we didn't want to do that. We wanted to maintain it being very natural. So we have limited amount of data on our users, right? The information that we have is really comes from the online giving community. So we don't know their sex or their birth date or anything like that. So any of you who use Facebook, you should be very happy because you know that I can't possibly extract information from your accounts. But it also means it's limited in what we can, the kind of information that we have. All right. Here are our treatments. We have, again, the 3 treatments, no donation, $1 add-on donation, $5 add-on donation. You're in the Facebook wall or the private message treatment. We have about 600 observations, 600 individual observations in each of those 6 cells. Again, some of the qualified people were then put into the normal checkouts. We have about another 600 there. People were randomly assigned as they arrived at checkout. And then we have about 1,300 people who were in the non-qualified group. Okay, so in total we have about 5,500 people who are in our experiment. Okay, so the normal checkout, this is what it looks like. So they made their donation. They get this screen, thanks for your donation, here's your receipt. You can print your receipt, you can share on Facebook, or you can tell a friend. Okay?
So I'm just trying to get a sense of the scale here on this online community.
Yep.
Can you go back? You might go back a slide. One more. Yeah. So you did this over
6 weeks.
Roughly a month and a half.
Yep.
And 5,587 people then gave over the month and a half.
That's right. We were supposedly getting information on everyone who came through checkout.
When you're saying N here, it's the people who donated and then subsequently sent a message rather than the people who potentially received it. So when you put it on your wall, you're counting that as an N of 1 rather than an N of, say, 50 people looked at it, an N of 50.
Oh, of who actually looked at it on the wall. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what's your N here? Is it the people
the number of people who put it on the wall, not the number of people who read it on the wall?
That's right. It's the number of donors. So these are the number of people who arrived at checkout and were screened. So every donor who made a donation, they were screened to whether they qualified for the experiment or not, right? If they were non-qualified, we gathered data on their donation amount and what they did if they posted to a wall or that type of thing.
So I guess the way to interpret your results then would be for these types of people who checked out and had this popularity level, this wall level, right? Because you want to compare wall to individual asks, but now it depends on how many people are actually looking at that person's wall.
So, very good point. So we don't know the number of people. Yes.
Just how to interpret
That's right.
the social media here is. So can you give us an idea of the distribution of the numbers of people who actually look at the wall for those people who are in your wall treatment?
So in this set of data that we gathered, we were not able to get any information about people's networks, right? We're doing more treatments with this online giving community, and we can't extract who your friends are, but now we're trying to count at least the number of friends. So in this set of data, we don't know. The data that you can find online about the distribution of number of friends that people have is the median is about 100, right? The average is terribly skewed.
Of course, you don't know how many people are actually going to see something on my wall because of the people who are friends with me each have 1,000 friends, and the chance of they're ever seeing anything from me.
And it depends. And you might have a friend that's particularly active, and so if you're looking at your news feed, they may whatever's coming in may be very low, right? But
exert some control over if you post your wall, you have 1,000 friends, they'll probably only show that to some fraction of friends based on their algorithms and your frequency of communication.
So your hypothesis is your question is it better for me to post to one friend as an ask, obviously privately, or is it better for me to post on my wall for everybody?
That's right.
What raises the most
That's right.
additional-
And as long as we've randomly assigned treatments, and there's no correlation between this issue of the number of friends that you have, then, this is the best measure that we can have, right? With barring knowing exactly what's going on in each individual's wall. Does that answer your question?
The thing I worried about when I tried to run an experiment like this was, well, people who posted on the wall may have overlapping, may have sets of friends in common, and so you're sort of getting non-independence. So
That could
I wasn't
happen.
sure how I was going to keep it in my standard errors, but
Right.
it didn't matter because nobody took up my treatment.
Oh, I see. Okay. All
I
right.
wasn't as smart as you. I didn't do it at checkout. I tried to get volunteers to post
Oh, I see.
before they checked it out.
Okay. Okay. All right. So this is normal checkout, you can, if you click to post your wall, this is the post that would go up, and it says access free education for 60 pygmy children. This is a project, right? And this is the post that would appear on the wall. There's a hyperlink on the access free education for 60 pygmy children, and that's a hyperlink that we can then follow. So if a friend clicks on it and comes back and donates, we can link that to the ask, okay? If a friend comes back and donates not via that link, we don't know, right? So whatever our measure is in terms of the donations generated is a lower bound relative to this. And then you can add something and then you click to share, right? This is what the share looks like. So this is what would appear on my page. And it has a little summary about the project, okay?
Well, have you been clever so that if I see that on your wall and I decide to click and go donate, that you'll be able to tell once I donate that this came from Reagan's link?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So our measure of donations generated is only through people clicking on this, right? This is on your wall or in the private message, right? And again, if you see that and you like the project, but you don't come and you want to donate, but you come back later another way, I don't know that it was linked to this particular ask.
Right, or if I saw your thing and it affected me, but I don't actually bother giving until I see John post it too, and then I click it.
That's right.
Then John gets all the credit.
Yeah, or he may have been non-qualified, and so actually you got. So again, what I'm saying is it's sort of a lower bound measure. Okay. Okay. This is what the private message looks like on the normal checkout. You can send an email to people. There's a little text down at the bottom there that says a little bit about the project. Okay. So what do we do in the experiment? How we change this normal checkout procedure is people arrive, they've made their donation already, and then they get in the private message $0 treatment. There's a little banner that says click below to send a private message to one friend on Facebook, and they only have the option of clicking the private message. Okay. If they click it, then something pops up. You have to enter in your friend's name. Again, there's a little text box if you want to. We couldn't extract that information for privacy reasons, but the little blurb says, I made a donation to this charity, join me in donating too. Okay, so the message is different, right? But the pop-up window and what shows in all the treatments is exactly the same. In the Facebook wall, it says click below to post your Facebook feed, no add-on. Again, same pop-up window comes up. This is the same thing that would be posted on Facebook. Yes?
In a private message, you can send to different people, other cases where you can send to two different
So again, we couldn't extract how many people they sent to the, so let me back up here a little bit. It says, click below to send a private message to one friend on Facebook. We couldn't restrict them, unfortunately, but good question, yeah. The more you send them to, the more like it's a wall treatment rather than a direct message. All right, with the $1 add-on, this is for the Facebook, it says, click below to post your Facebook feed, and we'll give an extra $1 to this charity on your behalf, okay? Then they click, and then what's being posted is exactly the same thing, right? So we're not posting that they got $1 to do this, right? Everything that's being visible in terms of their wall and their message is exactly the same. And then the $5 one is exactly the same, but we say we'll give an extra $5 to this project, okay? All right. All right, some descriptive statistics on our sample. About 65% of our sample are first-time donors. It's similar across treatments, a little lower for the non-qualified people. Reasons for disqualification run across the special donation campaigns. Okay, the average, or this is the donation amount at checkout, and this is just a check to make sure that we're actually randomizing people to the different cells well, and the median donation is $50, and the averages are not significantly different. And
What
this,
does the zero mean?
hang on a second.
You're checking out the zero?
That was the treatment.
No, that's the treatment. So these are the wall zero treatment, the wall $1 add-on, the wall $5 add-on. So this is just to say that we don't have anything funny in terms of how much people are donating across our treatments, right? They look good. This is just a distribution of them. So in the interest of time, I'm going to be jumping ahead a little bit here. Okay, so take up and completion rate. So remember I said there are two things that people can do. They can click to post, and then they can click to complete the share. So this is the click to post, and the way to read it is along the bottom is the subsidy amount. So this is the $0 subsidy, the $1 add-on, and the $5 add-on, right? And the blue bars are the wall posts, and the red bars are the private messages. So the first thing to notice is that as the add-on goes up, people are more likely to post, which what you'd expect. And also of note is that the take-up on the wall is much higher than the take-up on private message, right? So people are much more likely to post to their wall than they are to post it to the private message, right? And this is significantly different, but not when we're getting up to $5. So we're going to start to see that there's that extra bit, right? The extra percent of people that you get to take up may not be worth it for that extra $4 that you're giving people an incentive to post. And then in terms of completing the post, it goes down. It's about a 1/3 roll off, but the patterns are very similar, right, across the treatments. And this is just the two of them side by side. Okay, so in terms of costs, remember I suggested that there might be different kinds of costs that people face to do these types of things. So we split the data into those who were logged into Facebook and those who were not logged into Facebook, right? So people who are logged into Facebook, they don't have this nuisance cost of having to log in or get an account, right? And so the thing to notice here is that there's this, again, similar pattern across the 6 treatments in terms of take-up, and there's this level effect of people who are logged onto Facebook who are much more likely to take up, right? So it may be a reflection of nuisance costs, but it also may be a reflection of the people who are already logged onto Facebook are perhaps more socially oriented. They may be more likely to actually take these things up. And then similar sort of patterns with complete the post rate. Okay, so I'm going to skip these other nuisance costs and go to the effectiveness. So as I said before, we know, right, if there's a hyperlink on the treatments, and we know if you've clicked on the hyperlink and come back in. Again, so if you come in a different way, there's no way for us to track this. So this is just a number of clicks on the hyperlink based on the treatments, and again, as the subsidy goes up, we get more clicks, also more clicks on the wall than the private message, but again, more people are posting, so as a proportion of completed posts, it's kind of around the 43 to 45% of these posts that are actually getting people to come to the site, okay? Quite a bit larger for the private message, but we also don't have many observations there, so it might be small numbers. Okay, so in terms of donations, so what we can track coming back in, 1.2% of our peer-to-peer solicitations actually resulted in a donation that we can track, all right? And this is significantly different from 0. Now, it's very low, but it's similar to some of the other research that's out there about the mail campaigns, right? So there's a very, very low response rate to these things, so you actually need very, very large numbers. We may be underpowered given the response rate. The donation amounts are about the same as the asking donor, so they're on average about $49. We raised $245 in new donations. I'm sorry?
And allowing for the $1 and $5 costs of doing that?
No, so I will show you those calculations, yes. All the donations came from the wall, none from private messages, and again, we may be underpowered, but they all came from the wall 1, okay? And so that gives a 1.89% return from the walls, okay, and that's significantly different from 0. So when we're sort of thinking about these costs and benefits, the wall is yielding more posts than the private message. The extra $4 that we added on gives a small increase in posts, right? And if we're looking at sort of the best case scenario, so the people who are already logged into Facebook, they're the most responsive, we still only get a 2 percentage point increase for that extra $4, right?
And the $1 gave you a big boost.
The $1 gives a big boost, right? Both in the private message and the wall, but the extra $4, the increase is very small, especially for the wall, okay? So let's think about Glenn's question, which is really, what's the cost effectiveness of this? So if you spend $100 on the wall post, you get 100 posts, right? Because it's $1 each time they post. And if you're assuming that the return on the wall posts are all the same, a 1.89% return, there'd be 100 posts, 1.89% return times an average donation of $49. So for $100, you would have made $92.61, okay? Compare that to not doing anything, right? So suppose you spent nothing. Proportionally, you get 38 posts for the 100 posts you get for the $1. And again, assuming the same kind of returns, you'd have 38 posts, 1.89%, $49, $35.19, okay? So spending the $100, you've lost $7.39, right? So,
Right, then, wait a
yeah.
second. So how many donors do I have in the wall dollar versus wall $0?
It's about 600 in each of them.
No, how many people actually donate? So I'm just thinking about building a donor pyramid.
Okay.
Is this a way, even though I lose money in the short run, that I have people who are now actively giving to my cause, and I can go back to them later?
Possibly,
So
yeah,
that's what I'm asking
yeah.
about. How many, what's the difference in the number of donors
So we
across these two treatments right here?
okay. So all the new donors came from the Wall 1 treatment.
Right, so if you take that literally, it means that the wall one's better, because you have a ton of new donors who you can now go back to.
That's right.
So the key is the longitudinal tracking of this one.
Right. No, exactly. So yes. And so we're thinking a little bit more about how to think about what that chain would be and how to encourage that chain. But that's correct. So maybe we're okay. Yeah. So I'll think a little more.
This seems very static.
Yeah.
The world just seems too static.
No, I understand. We've been able to track donations like since about a month ago. I asked them about that, and most of the donations happened within a week or so of whatever the post was. I don't know if we've had subsequent donations since then. Yeah, from the new. Yeah.
So then actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of town. Yeah, let me just.
They've
Yeah.
been pulling that up for a while.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so just let me summarize, and then from whatever time I have left, I can take questions or afterwards. So we've looked at this common fundraising mechanism of peer-to-peer fundraising on online social networks. Looked a little bit at these costs and benefits. There seem to be nuisance costs, a little bit of social costs. And we have a calculation of a return on investment that sort of looks a little bit at comparing this mechanism. We're thinking about it as a cost, but actually this money is actually going back to the charity, so it's not like it's being spent on something else. So there might be actually a positive return on investment under. So, right. So, yeah, but if you think about randomizing across these Wall 0 and these Wall 1 treatments, you could generate 138. Yeah. The $5 one was the $5 one wasn't worth it. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. So sorry for. Yep.
So let me just ask, while it already sets up, is there a practitioner question? We've had the academics talk a lot, maybe the practitioner would like to ask a question about the treatment. Go? Well, I'm sorry. If you have that.
You count.
Do you have any, when people who responded to the first ask go through, they get asked to make a Facebook post?
So good question. I hadn't looked at. We only have 5, right? So I haven't looked at that data. But it was a question I was asked yesterday, and I haven't gone back to look and actually see. They potentially could have been put into a treatment. Yeah. Yes. There is.
Yes, I will say in that video, but when we talk about this $100 cost, it's important from a practitioner standpoint. I guess it's very rare that you would almost look at this as a additional cost to the organization, right? It would be some type of leadership gift, or some type of gift to the organization that's coming anyway, and they say, sometimes we use it as a matching funds, but in this case, you may
can ask, yeah, to do that. I mean, certainly from the online giving community, they're perfectly happy to keep tracking people for us and give us data on that.
And what they need to know is how much is spent on this cohort separately from the general fundraising for renewal.
Okay, good point, thank you. Yes.
It might be interesting to see what would happen if you issued the extra payment on one of your friends and donating, say, I'll give $10, if you goes to one of your friends. Is the 50% return so low, whether you can significantly influence that?
Excellent idea. We're working on that right now.
But you do bring up a good point. So whenever I talk to big donors, people with high capacity, they will say they don't want to ask their friends because they know if they do, that they will be asked 10 times back. So they say, let me just give you the $1 million, whatever it is, the gift, because I do not want to go to one of my friends. And that's why you have to be careful about generalizing across different stakes levels. Here in particular, I think was yeah, the anonymous $10 million guy. So that's the other. So I think this is great stuff. I mean, this is new in academic circles. This is breaking great new ground. But I think if you're looking at well-established and big donors, not only this paper, but the whole day today and tomorrow, your appetite will not be satisfied because there's still very little evidence on how to move big donors and whether certain approaches work for them. And I mean people with capacity to give $1 or $2 million. That's just not what this particular group has been able to gain access to. It's proven everyone.
Thank you.
But if the giving model is different, that's really not relevant.
It's very relevant. So I think it's relevant because if you think about using match dollars, and you say, well, matches 2 to 1, 3 to 1 versus 1 to 1 work like this for $250 to $500 lower givers, then the question is, does it work the same way for a guy who's going to give $10 million? And I think an honest academic will say, we don't know.
There are very few.
Right, exactly.